So Mike, if there's someone out there who runs a business and wants to start a podcast, if you were to turn to them and go, well, what sort of a person do you need to be, and what tips would you have for that person?
Yeah, I think like one thing that we tend to do is we get a little bit caught up in our own little sphere of influence, and we get to thinking that we're a little bit more unique or interesting than we actually are. Yeah. I think don't underestimate how little people care about you, right? Now that sounds like a little bit nihilistic or, a little bit depressing, but what I'm getting at there is that people don't really want to hear you go on about yourself and how great you are and what you can do and all that sort of stuff. So I think if you think about it from the person that's listening and what they want to hear, then that's a good starting point, right? So there's, if you're building an audience, they're going to seek you out and they're going to want to connect with you. You don't need to force down their throat like that you're the best at what you do. So I think it's important to just think like nothing is as interesting as you probably think it is when you're talking about you and your business, because everyone's passionate, right? I love the business that I work in, but no one wants to hear me talk about, we started on this date and then we grew to this and blah, 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 even though that's kind of what I have been doing. So I've got to listen to my own advice. But yeah, I think just think about the listener and curate something that you think, if you didn't know about you, these are the questions that you'd want to be asking, and really try and get the best out of your guests if you're interviewing people.
Yeah. And from my perspective, what I'd say is consistency. So be willing to set aside time, be consistent in posting. Maybe find someone like an assistant to help you out, who can arrange schedules, organize follow-ups and things like that, because just to reduce the amount of time that you spend on the podcast. And then, consistency, get help, and, I think get started.
Yeah, get started. I mean, you just, like, I couldn't recommend strongly enough asking someone, would you like to come on my podcast? And then not having a podcast ready to have them on. And there's nothing that forces you to launch a podcast than an upcoming calendar meeting for you to interview somebody.
I know. You really
You got to be careful right now, though, because microphones are hard to get, as you've found out.
During coronavirus, if you're looking for microphones, if you're looking for webcams, if you're looking for computer screens, good luck. But anyway, who knows when this is going to be released? It might be released in February 2021. No, it won't.
Yeah, well, see, and here's a tip too, if you're a guest, mention current events and then they have to bump you forward in the feed.
I know.
So this is actually, yeah. So today is, no, I'm not going to do that. But that's something to think about as well. Like with the podcast, as you said, consistency is really important. We do a fortnightly podcast just because I don't really feel like I have the time to commit to do it weekly to a certain quality standard. It would be better to certainly do it weekly, but you've got to be careful to frame it in a sense that if you're talking about something that it stays like a perennial topic. Like we've done a couple of webinars all about COVID-19, right? But they're useless for anything other than right now. Whereas a lot of the questions that I ask are fundamental portfolio building style questions that are still probably going to be relevant in 10 years time. So I think it's good. Like if you're doing it fortnightly or weekly, you want to have a few in the bank. You want to have a few in advance, maybe record 3 in a week so that if something happens or you want to go on holidays, you've got them in the pipes. But you've got to sort of stop people from talking about, oh, did you read the paper today?
Yeah, 100%. Evergreen content is what you want. And hopefully we've provided some really great evergreen content, something that people can draw back on and go, all right, I'm a business owner. I want to start a podcast. How do I do it? Should I do it? Am I trying to drive business from it? And if you are, don't do it. Maybe over the long term.